So good afternoon. It's nice to see Secretary Pollack, who I normally only see on a screen, and Sam, it's always good to see you in a slightly different role today than your typical one. We're here today to talk a little bit about snow. We just got off a phone call with the National Weather Service, and except for the Cape and Islands, which may see lower snow totals, about all of Massachusetts tomorrow is likely to see at least a foot of snow. We could also have some power outages because of the high winds tonight and tomorrow, although those are more likely to be focused in southeastern Mass. And along the coast, we could see some minor flooding during the high tide tomorrow afternoon. Snow is expected to start falling around 9 p.m. in western Mass and closer to 11 p.m. in eastern Mass. And by midnight, we expect it'll be snowing at a rate of about 1 or 2 inches per hour, in some places maybe as much as 3, continuing into Thursday morning. In total, the current forecast calls for the most parts of Massachusetts, as I said, to see somewhere between 8 and 12 inches of snow. Western Mass, central Mass, the numbers may be higher. And we're also concerned about the potential for a flash freeze in eastern Massachusetts on Thursday morning. Colder temperatures are expected to quickly move eastward tomorrow morning, and that could lead to some slush and melted snow getting frozen as a result on the roadways, which obviously will certainly create some icy conditions that will make it very difficult tomorrow morning for people to be out in their automobiles. Obviously, here in Massachusetts, we're no strangers to winter weather. The Lieutenant Governor and I were talking earlier today about the fact that one of our first experiences in our current jobs, almost 6 years ago now, was the blizzard of 2015. But we've had plenty of opportunities to work our way through this stuff since then. Right now, as everybody also knows, traffic is down compared to where it typically is, and that's because more and more people are working from home, which is obviously helpful to our road crews as they clear the storm away. I'd also just point out that the fact that the storm really starts in earnest later tonight and ends toward the middle of the day tomorrow also means the vast majority of it's going to be falling at a point in time when most people should be home, based on the stay-at-home advisory we've got in place here in Massachusetts from 10 at night until 5 in the morning. And we're obviously asking people to stay off the roads, and especially tomorrow, if you can stay home, that would be the preferred option. And if you need to travel, you should really try and get whatever you need to get done earlier tonight or put it off until sometime late tomorrow afternoon. This isn't only for your safety, but it's also for the safety of the road crews and all the other folks who are going to be out dealing with the storm and clearing away snow. State employees who, for the most part, do have the ability to work from home will be expected to do that. In addition to that, there are a number of workplaces across the Commonwealth where people do work in person, many in customer-facing roles. We'll probably have more to say about what will be open and what won't be open when we know a little bit more about how the storm is unfolding. That's likely to be either late tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. And we also recommend, obviously, that employers that have employees who can work from home, it would be great if you could have them do so. And if people do absolutely have to commute, they should probably put a lot of extra time in for that. People should take it slow. The storm, heaviest parts of the storm are probably going to be tomorrow night, but it's still going to be snowing at a pretty brisk rate in many parts of Massachusetts throughout the commute tomorrow morning, and snow will continue to fall in a lot of places until around noon. The DOT and the road crews there and the MBTA is obviously going to be working throughout the night to clear off platforms and rails and roads and sidewalks. The DOT's Highway Division is planning a full deployment of all their equipment and personnel. That'll be approximately 3,800 pieces of snow fighting equipment will be deployed to perform ice and snow operations on more than about 15,000 miles of roadway throughout the state. And the MBTA will be clearing tracks and engaging their new snow plans throughout the evening and into the morning as well. And even as the storm moves out tomorrow, we obviously expect cold temperatures to be with us throughout the week, which means it will continue to be icy in the days ahead. Please be cautious if you go outside. We have had a very mild fall. In some respects, it was 52, I think, on Sunday. So we clearly haven't had to deal with something quite like this in quite some time. And I think we should all remember that we should respect this kind of weather and recognize and understand that if you have high winds that are from 40 to 60 miles an hour, you could have some downed trees and other obstructions in the way, and that will also cause potentially some isolated power outages. We've obviously spent a bunch of time talking to the utilities and the folks at the DPU, and they're bringing crews in and staging them in all the key locations they think are going to be particularly important so that they can restore service as quickly as possible. Once again, if you absolutely don't have to travel tonight or tomorrow, it would be great if you could just stay put and let the road crews do the work that they need to do. The last thing we all need to deal with right now, in the midst of everything else that's going on, are car accidents and other collisions as a result of what will be fairly treacherous driving conditions. Everybody knows our first responders in our hospitals have had their hands full for months. It would be terrific if you could just stay off the roads and not make their lives any more complicated than in some respects they already are. The MEMA State Emergency Operations Center is activated, and that'll continue with Mass DOT, the folks from DPU and the state police and others throughout the storm. Now I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Governor to talk a little more about our response efforts and our work with cities and towns.
Thank you, Governor, and good afternoon. As we all know, this is the first winter storm of the season, and we are here to remind people about how to stay safe. As Governor Baker said, we urge people to stay off the roads tonight and tomorrow, but if you have to travel, remember to heed all travel advisories and don't crowd the plow. Mass DOT's ice and snow operations will be deployed throughout our Commonwealth. Highway districts always conduct preparation activities in advance of new weather systems and pre-treat the roadways when necessary. They've already been doing that. The MBTA and Keolis have also been hard at work to ensure the public transportation is available as an alternative for those who absolutely need to travel to get to work or appointments or something that they need to do. In preparation of this winter season, system-wide tree trimming took place along commuter rail and rapid transit right-of-way areas. The MBTA and Keolis completed 80 miles of tree management along the commuter rail. In addition, this winter season, the MBTA has expanded implementation of remote interlocking monitoring of switch heaters, third rail heaters, and trip heaters. 64 gas hot air blowers are also being installed at critical switches across the system. It's a flashback. We talked a lot about that in the aftermath of 2015. The T has also been in touch with town administrators and city mayors to coordinate details around snow clearing obligations. This includes a virtual meeting and Q&A sessions for municipal DPW officials and other local officials. We truly appreciate the coordination and the partnership with our local officials throughout the Commonwealth. It makes for a much better response for our communities and the residents of our Commonwealth. For parking closures, effective today at 10 p.m., DCR will implement parking bans along various DCR-managed roadways for public safety purposes and to accommodate snow clearing operations in anticipation of the storm. The impacted roadways are as follows: Hull Shore Drive and Extension Road in Hull, Nantasket Avenue in Hull, Lynn Shore Drive in Lynn, Quincy Shore Drive in Quincy, Revere Beach Boulevard in Revere, and Winthrop Shore Drive in Winthrop. Morrissey Boulevard in Dorchester is likely to experience flooding, which will require periodic closures at and around high tides. The parking ban is expected to be lifted shortly after snow clearing operations are complete. MEMA is also coordinating with local communities across our Commonwealth on storm prep operations this afternoon. You'll hear more about that. And once again, conditions will be difficult tonight and tomorrow, so please stay home and off the roads unless you absolutely must travel. This gives the crews the time and the space they need to get out there and complete the work and restore the condition of the roads to a level where it is safe to get back out again. I'd like to now turn it over to Transportation Secretary Stephanie Pollack to go into the plans in more detail.
Thank you, Governor and Lieutenant Governor, and good afternoon, everyone. In the last 12 hours, I've heard forecasters use the words batten down the hatches, and that this has the potential to be a whopper of a storm for some regions of Massachusetts. Most of Massachusetts is about to see a powerful winter storm that will bring with it snow, heavy at times, and strong gusty winds. The best way to stay safe is to stay home, if you possibly can. We're all supposed to be home by 10 p.m. and stay there until 5 a.m. under the COVID stay-at-home advisory, as the governor mentioned, and today is a good day to get home a bit earlier before the snow begins in your area, and to stay there throughout Thursday morning if you can, as driving conditions are likely to remain difficult through what we used to call the morning rush hour. Who hasn't looked out a window and said, it doesn't look too bad out there, and then left home only to find themselves driving around branches on the road, squinting through a fogged-up windshield, maneuvering through an unplowed intersection, and wondering if the car headed your way is going to hit you? Stay home and only travel if you must, both to keep yourself safe and to let our professionals involved in ice and snow operations get their jobs done safely. And if you do need to travel, consider using transit and leaving the driving to the dedicated men and women of the MBTA who operate our buses, subways, and trains. In this storm, MassDOT's Highway Division is activating our contractor and in-house resources and expects to mobilize nearly all of our 3,800 pieces of snow fighting equipment to perform ice and snow operations on more than 15,000 lane miles of roadway throughout the state. Highway districts are ready and can pre-treat roads with brine and magnesium chloride when appropriate. Despite these efforts, I must caution that driving conditions will likely be dangerous at times. For example, there is a flash freeze in the forecast, which means that even though the pavement has been cleared, temperatures are forecast to plummet. If that happens, wet pavement will freeze almost immediately. Drivers may be caught off guard. Pavement that looks clear and just wet may be cleared of snow, but a skating rink if pre-treating chemicals have been washed away. So please, take this storm seriously, because driving conditions will be difficult and the cleanup on Thursday will take us a while. During the heaviest of snowfall periods in this storm, some major roads may have only one lane open for travel. In the nearly 6 years I've been doing these winter press conferences, you've never heard me stand before you and say this. But there may even be times that just a single lane is open for travel on some roadways. This is due to the snowfall rate per hour, but also because state and local public works officials have some driver shortages due to the coronavirus. COVID-19 has impacted crew availability for the state and for some cities and towns. MassDOT and cities and towns have changed their operating procedures to try and minimize as much the possible spread of the virus, but those procedures may mean slower road treatment and plowing that takes place longer than usual. So please, again, stay home if you can. If you need to travel, know that MassDOT and the MBTA will be working hard to keep travel as safe as possible for you. Consider using transit to get where you need to go. And if you do need to drive or take transit, please plan ahead and allow for additional travel time, especially on Thursday morning. Speaking of transit, the MBTA is planning to operate non-passenger trains overnight and into Thursday morning in order to keep tracks clear and to look for any trees or branches that pose a threat. MBTA emergency crews will be on standby throughout the storm to respond to instances of broken rails, issues affecting the power system, potential switch problems, and any water-related issues that may occur. Power crews will continue to inspect overhead wires on the blue and green lines, looking for ice buildup. In addition, ice cutters are installed on the blue and green line vehicles designed to remove ice buildup on catenary wires. While the MBTA plans to operate regularly scheduled weekday service for the bus and subway, the Mattapan trolley line will be replaced with a dedicated bus shuttle beginning Thursday morning. The MBTA takes this proactive step to protect the 75-year-old trolley cars from weather-related damage. As a reminder, commuter rail is already in a reduced schedule due to COVID, so it is even more important than usual to check online for the latest commuter rail schedules. If the weather leads to delays with the T and service changes occur, Customers can get the latest information by visiting the T's website, winter weather page, and by following the T on Twitter @MBTA or the commuter rail on Twitter @MBTA_CR, where all service updates and the most up-to-date service information will be provided. The MBTA asks that customers use caution on station platforms and at bus stops, wear warm winter clothing, as always wear a face covering, and check mbta.com for the latest weather information. Since 2015, the T has invested over $100 million to prevent severe weather service interruptions. T also has contractors at the ready for snow clearing along key bus routes and at T facilities to free up T employees so they can concentrate on core system functions. So, the MBTA is ready for this storm and this winter. The MassDOT Highway Division is ready for this storm and this winter. And the best step members of the public can take, if at all possible, is to stay home and give space to essential workers, including plow drivers and T operators, so they can do their jobs effectively during this storm. Thank you. Governor. Sam.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor, Lieutenant Governor, and Secretary Pollock. As the Governor said, MEMA will activate the state's Emergency Operations Center this evening and will be open throughout the duration of the storm, monitoring the impacts of the weather throughout the Commonwealth, including the potential for some minor coastal flooding on Thursday. In addition to MassDOT, the Department of Public Utilities, we are coordinating closely with our state and local partners. In addition to our regional operations centers, will all be activated at 5 a.m. on Thursday to begin community outreach to our municipal emergency management directors. This is weather that we are all used to in Massachusetts, but it's always good to take some basic preparedness steps. As the Governor mentioned, wind gusts could cause power outages. Keep your cell phone, laptop, and other electronics fully charged. If you have an emergency generator, make sure you have fuel and know how to operate it safely away from your home. Have flashlights, batteries, and other supplies you may need if you do lose power. And make sure if you use medical equipment that requires electricity to talk to healthcare providers, utility companies, and your personal support network for options. Finally, every storm offers great opportunity to be a good neighbor. I know many of us have older adults and other individuals living with disabilities who make our neighborhoods great places to live. Please take a few minutes to check on anyone in your neighborhood who may need some extra support before, during, or after the storm. If you're on shovel duty, take your time shoveling and take breaks. If you have a fire hydrant nearby, please take some time to be a good neighbor to our firefighting partners and clear your hydrant out. For more preparedness information, please visit our website, www.mass.gov/MEMA, MEMA.